So, yeah, let me give you an idea of what's gonna happen now. So, I'm gonna basically my site, the YouTube will be split into two things. The product of instantaneity, which will be videos that just happen spur of the moment, whatever, wherever I am. If it seems video worthy, I'll do it there. And then there'll be broken record stuff. So it'll be either like a broken mixtape review, broken album review, whatever it is that I've been more meditating on and thinking about. Those things will get more proper constructed videos, and that's kind of the idea of my reviews broken, because I give them more thought and kind of like a broken record in my mind. All right, this is what I want to say. This is what so it's more calculated, instantaneous to spontaneously, things that just happen spontaneously. But so there's that. Today is the first broken review, and just kind of give you an idea of how I do things. I'll basically say who the person is, what the project is, my views on the project. That'll be it. The grading system will be basically a letter system from F all the way to A plus. That's pretty much inspired by EGM's new style, and I've always think that style, though I do love the 10-point system, it gives you a better idea of how to look at a game, how to look at something. So I think that'll do good in translating, whether it be a movie, song, whatever. So what I'm reviewing today is CJthe Genesis' Feng Shui. So this project was released around May. Again, it's by this guy named CJthe Genesis. And for those who aren't familiar with him, he's a rapper who's slowly been trying to build up a lot of internet buzz. I think for the last 2 years, two major highlights of his basically recent part of his career was last year he released the project Yeah I'm a Nerd, basically all video game samples. Very ambitious project, and he gained a huge fan base after that. At least that's when I became a fan. I realized a lot of people were following him after that. And then another major point of his building up to get buzz was this year, where he did a collab track with Wale. In fact, you can find it on my channel. So he did a collab track, and what happened is that on a Ustream event, Wale was asking for beats, and he heard CJ's and he liked it, so he did a freestyle over it. Nice freestyle, beats great. So he's been slowly making moves. I'm hoping that he can break through. We're gonna see how he can do that. But so Feng Shui, the project, was released again in May, and it's basically a dedication tape to Nujabes, where he raps over a couple of Nujabes beats, and each song represents a point of Feng Shui. So there's an intro track, 7 points of Feng Shui after that, so 7 different songs. And then there's a remix at the end of all of it. So that's the perspective. And I'm usually a big fan of smaller projects, because I think that they usually allow you to cut the excess crap or trim the fat, whatever you want to look at it as. And it's usually a much more focused effort. And in fact, that's the case here. So the thing is that, first and foremost, for those who aren't familiar with Nujabes' production style, it's a lot more quieter. If you're familiar, I guess basically it's just it's a lot more just oriental sounding, quieter, a lot more piano involved, that type of stuff. And so it's a little bit more of a laid back. And the question was that, with such a great producer, he knew that the beats would be perfect, pretty much. The question is now, how would CJ fit in on these beats? And the beauty is, as I described the track to be a little bit more laid back, CJ is pretty much at home here. So the opening track is called Head Up High, and I want to start here simply because it's a song that I think that best represents Mixtape, and it starts off the Mixtape right after the quick 37-second introduction of what the tape is about, which, as I described to you before. So it basically talks about, it's basically a self-motivation thing to kind of how to look positively on your own character. So it's like head high up, pride up high. And then right after he says that, such a great chorus as far as I'm concerned. He has a great voice for this type of stuff. He goes into verses, I think there's 3 verses on this, where he just kind of gives a perspective on how he's had to struggle with that, how he had to build that up. And that's what it is. What makes this project so strong is that, at least on this particular song, you have him rapping, giving his story, his perspective. And then what happens as you're listening, it's a laid back song, so it's a little bit more slower pace, and you're just like, it's easier to sit. It's an easy listen, and then you start to just thinking about it, thinking about it gives a lot of meditation, and that's pretty much what makes this project so well. Is that from the very get go, you're meditating, and that's the idea. One of the ideas from Feng Shui I could really get is that it's a really a lot of self meditation of where you want to go, just a realization of where you are, and that's what makes this project so strong. Is that it really gives you an idea of where CJ was at around May. I don't know if he's moved on or whatever, because that's the project gives us a glimpse into his life. And what's beautiful is that head high up, just because I got y'all in my head, over love, and mature. Those are 5 songs from what is it, a nine song project, one of them being the intro. So that's about majority of your tape already being self-reflective and encouraging you. And that's it. The way that he approaches it, it's a very encouraging. And I think a lot of times where people hear so quote unquote positive lyrics or whatever, it's like, oh, he's being preachy. Oh, I mean that's the whole Nas staple that no, oh, Nas is being preachy, let's avoid that. No, it's encouraging. And that's what I want to get across, and that's why I enjoy listening to this project. I remember one of the first comments I made to myself after hearing the project, I was like, it's almost like building positive chakra. It's such a good use of space. He's so at home on these songs. And it makes it, I mean, just to talk about one of my favorite songs, Over Love, where you can get how for a lot, it deals with just changing the perspective from wanting to have this relationship and so anxious for that. It's just like, you know what, forget that, I'm going to focus on me. And the way that he presents it, it's like, at times, it's when you say that to yourself, it's like, that's kind of dark, but it's not dark, it's what you got to do, and you got to encourage yourself to do that type of thing. And that's really what again, it's like such an encouraging songs. And he doesn't do a lot of hyperboles or whatever, so it's really down to earth encouragement, down to earth reflection. And again, it encourages you because you may not be in whatever situation he's in, but I do think that it's almost like a building romance of songs, of just like basically showing how to get from one stage to the next stage, and how you mentally look at that. And then, as he says, he wants to be not just a thinker, he wants to be acting on his thoughts, and that's usually the challenge. So these are his thoughts, and it gets you to think, how do I act based on what I've heard? Do I agree, disagree? And it gives you that type of self-reflection, and that's what makes the project really stand out. But as I said, I've given you about 6 songs, including the intro, of just reflection. So you have 3 songs here, but two of them fit in the perspective of the Feng Shui very well, but they're less appealing than those songs I presented to you before. One of them is called Know My Name, where he just basically describes his aspirations of what he wants to do. And it's not that it's a bad song, but as I say, coming from these so self-reflective things, and I mean, the aspirations are good and interesting, but it's hard to be as intrigued after, as I said, the rest of the songs promote so much self-reflection and so forth. This one doesn't promote self-reflection. Again, this goes back to dope rhyming, which isn't a bad thing, so to speak, but it's just like in comparison to those stories into his life, it's a little bit less intriguing. And then the other one, which is Perfect Your Kung Fu, which was the main single for this tape, he raps over the most popular Nujabes beat, the Samurai Shampoo theme song, Battle Cry. And the issue I had with it at first, and still an issue I a little bit have with it now, is that I listened to CJ's version. It's not a bad version, but at times when I listen to it, it's like, I don't know if he's at home with this beat as much as the others, because this one's more of it's not as quiet as the rest of the other production. It's not as soothing. I mean, there's more to it than that. It's a little bit rougher of a beat, and I think that he doesn't sound as at home as he does on other songs. And flow-wise, lyrics are solid, but what I will say is that the remix to that is so much better than what I truly believe that you should have left on the project as your main track. So he has two cats spit. I forget their names. Please forgive me. The second guy has an interesting verse, but it's only interesting because he references anime. He does the whole DBZ stuff. I'm like, it's but it's nothing. nothing that I would quote. I mean, if you're gonna do that, you gotta do it quotable, or you gotta do something really flashy. It's not just referencing it. Now, right after that, M-Tray comes in and truly makes an amazing guest appearance. It's almost unfair because the rest of the songs are just so reflective and so forth. And when you hear him when he's attacking this verse, I think it works with the whole idea of perfect kung fu. So he's spinning at a fast pace. You almost feel, there's so many the rhyming schemes are great to listen to, and the flow is just amazing. And what he's saying too, it's stuff that I would love to be able to write, especially how he describes the whole idea of the katana blade at the beginning, really top-notch stuff. He does a great feature as usual. When he and CJ were together, those two step up their game, and that's the case. Right after that, CJ has a better verse than what he had on the original, and I mean, though he has his cheap Chuck Norris reference, I'm not buying that, man, not buying that. But the rest of the project is, the rest of that verse is strong, and that's the thing. It's just, it's such a tight. These 3 songs I just talked about as a lower aspects of the album, they're not bad songs by any means. And in fact, I'm really a big fan of the remix of Perfect Kung Fu. So it's mainly 2 tracks I really have an issue with. They're not bad songs, but they're solid. And I think alone, they stand alright. The thing is that in comparison to the rest of the songs that are such highlights, they really don't hold a candle as well as those other songs. So it does bring down the project a little bit, but not much. It's not like it's excess. It's not like you hear them and you immediately want to skip. It's nothing like that. It's just that they're perfect transition tracks because of where they placed in the album, and it's perfectly fine. But it's just not. They're not significant songs. Not the songs out that are worth going back to over and over again. However, as I say, they are strategically placed in the project so they don't interfere with the listening process of the project. Project's short, it works out well, and you can take it in easily, and with the Nujabes production, it's an easy listen. Nothing that you have to try to get into to see its beauty. On the first listen, you should recognize how beautiful it is. Strong project, one of my favorite projects of the year. And grade-wise, I have to give it an A-. Shout out, good job, CJ. And I'll put the Bandcamp download link, I think, down here. And I think that's it. Check it out. Feng Shui, broken review, first broken review, can you believe that? And A- for CJ, great project.